Well, how do you define precious metal? Hey YouTube, Vertical Stacker. I have not put out a video for a little over a week. Part of that is because I have not been purchasing any precious metals, at least traditionally, in the sense that I have always defined precious metals. However, I started thinking about it recently and I thought, I have been purchasing other things that are just as precious because of our constitutional rights in this country as gold and silver, and those are firearms. And so I just wanted to take a minute to review some of the purchases I've made. Not so recently, some of them have been very recently, but that's where I've been diverting some of my finances in lieu of buying gold and silver. At the prices they're at now, I'm buying a little insurance, shall we say. So let's take a look. This is the Springfield XDS chambered in 45 ACP. It's a 3.3 inch barrel, and this has been my backpacking gun for many years. I've used this to ward off the four-legged critters, and if ever necessary, the two-legged critters, which, a topic for another video will be something that I just had to do this year up in a wilderness area. I was somewhat surprised and taken aback when a man grew fairly violent for absolutely no reason with a bunch of kids around. And, fortunately I kept my wits about me and I did not have to draw a weapon, but I was prepared to do so in the event that this particular individual continued to make any advances towards myself or our family. But this has been a nice weapon. It's a little difficult to shoot. I like the narrow profile. I like the narrow grip. It's a little wide here, but as far as the width-wise across the handle, it fits very nicely in my particular hand. So it's still a little hard to shoot, hard to keep on target because of the recoil. And 45 ACP with a 3.3 inch barrel, that rocks quite a bit on those 230 grain bullets that I use. This one came with a couple of different magazines, and they have these little extenders here to help extend the grip as well. I think I have 4 or 5 magazines for this particular weapon, and it is fun to shoot, albeit hard to stay on target. This is not one that I would be very successful, firing in rapid succession just because of the barrel jump, and that may be just a lack of practice on my end as well, and maybe puny wrists, I don't know. But Springfield XDS 45 ACP, pretty nice firearm. So that's one I've had for some time. More recently, I picked up this Sig P320. This, out of the box, has been the most accurate firearm that I've ever owned. It came, again, with a couple of different magazines. I think they are, 15 or 16 round magazines. I can't remember. I think it's 15 in one. But a really, really nice firearm, this P320. If I had to take any pistol that I have into any type of a scenario where my life depended on it, it would be this one. Not only does it hold a lot of rounds, I think it's 16 plus 1, might be 17 plus 1. You'd think I know, but I really don't. It doesn't say on the magazine either. I don't pay that much attention to it, but this is a very, very good firearm made by Sig Sauer. I like the sight picture with the 3 white dots going across there, and the internal hammer is pretty neat as well. But easy to break down. Most of the firearms nowadays are very, very similar in the way that they break down. These, of course, are the different types of rounds that I use for the 9mm. Oh yeah, that's right, the Sig is chambered in 9mm. I use these hollow points that have the post in the middle of them. These, when they expand, they do so in a fairly violent manner. And then on my 45 ACP, these are what I carry in the weapons when I'm out and about. Usually when I'm, camping or something like that, I'll replace those with just a typical round nose target type point. These I think are a Federal or Winchester brass, chambered in 45 auto. But two really nice firearms. Again, the P320 is definitely my favorite of the larger type handguns that I own. So let me take these out of the way here, and then we'll just kind of take a look at the other precious metals that I have. Now these, you've seen these on videos before, it's nothing new. They're just ounces and half ounces that I've been collecting over the last 6 months. But I have been able to pick up a couple of other firearms recently. And these are a couple of firearms that I have not even had the opportunity to shoot yet. So I need to get over to the range and test them out. But this one here is the M&P Shield. It's a Smith Wesson M&P Shield chambered 9mm. It's the 2.0, so it's a little bit updated. This is loaded, as you can see, with also hollow points from the 9mm. And this has been my carry piece for the more recent times. Again, I haven't had a chance to fire it, so it's a little foolish of me to use this as my carry piece, but I'm gonna get over to the range today and I'm going to practice, of course, with the ammo that I intend to shoot. I take practice rounds, which are just the typical, 9mm, 115 grain round nose, copper jacketed, and I use those to practice as well. But it's always a good idea, for those of you that are more familiar with firearms, you'll know this, it's always a good idea to practice with the rounds that you're ultimately going to carry and potentially use in any situation. What you don't want is to have your weapon get familiar with one type of ammo in a practice scenario, and then when things count, you discover that these don't feed and they jam in your weapon. That would be a catastrophe that could, of course, cost you your life. So this particular 2.0 came with 2 magazines. I have one here that has the 8 rounds, so it's 8 in 1. And then I have, I think, another one here that is the standard 7 round magazine that comes with that. Nice little weapon. I can't wait to go and shoot that. And then just yesterday, I picked up this Springfield Hellcat. Really excited about this. I've read a lot of reviews. The sight picture is really nice on this particular firearm. I haven't ever fired a weapon that has that type of sight picture on it before. Also chambered in 9mm. I have a feeling I'm going to really struggle between the Hellcat and the M&P 2.0, the Shield, as to which is going to be my ultimate carry weapon. But this one I really like because the capacity of this magazine is 12. So you get 12 in 1 in this particular Hellcat, because it's slightly a wider profile, and if you look at this magazine, it's a little wider than the single stacks. This is a staggered stack where it doesn't go exactly side by side. It's staggered just slightly so they can fit 12 in there, and that's phenomenal to have 12 plus 1 in a small compact handgun like this. But really, really excited to be able to go out and shoot this. It's going to be a real fun weapon to shoot. Again, the Springfield Hellcat. Did a lot of reviews. I've watched a lot of videos on all of these weapons before I purchased them. Of all of them that I have displayed here today, these 4, these are the 2 that I've picked up in the last couple of weeks. The other ones I've had for quite a bit longer. And again, I think that P320, certainly for the larger type handgun, I favor that one over the XDS by Springfield. But I think I'm going to struggle with these 2, although I suspect, assuming, whoops, dominoes, assuming that all other things are relatively equal, and that is how they shoot, how they handle the recoil and so forth, I think I'm probably going to favor the Hellcat just because of the 12 plus 1 factor. Anyway, the M&P also came with a nice little ProTac case, pretty nice little case here that I can put some swag in, different magazines and so forth. It also came with a nice little holster. The holster for the M&P 2.0 is really, really nice. It just hangs on to the weapon really snug. It's a Black Hawk holster, but really had a nice deal on a package deal with this. I think I picked this up, including the holster, the bag. I think it was $329, which was a phenomenal deal. I think the retail on it was $459, and I believe it was Sportsman's Warehouse that ended up having just a really, really good deal on the package there. So pretty happy about that. And this one I just picked up yesterday, the day before, and I believe it was $549. And I purchased this over at a smaller arms dealer because the larger box stores have just been sold out. They haven't had any of these smaller compact pistols in stock for a couple of months, it seems like. So, you know, when you're out collecting your precious metals, think about it. Are these the only things that are precious? Because these precious metals are protected by virtue of these precious metals. And that's designed by our constitutional system. And I sure am thankful that we have a constitution with amendments. And that Second Amendment is a pretty important thing. And if you consider where we're at as a society right now and where we are headed and where we could be headed, it's intriguing, to say the least, to wonder where things will be. Now, I am not one of those grab my suspenders and get at a high point and, you know, challenge people to come and get me. No, I hope something like that would never ever happen. I hope that there would never be a situation in which I would actually have to use my firearms to defend myself and or my family. But, you know, make no mistake, I love my family very much, and, you know, generally speaking, as men and women protecting our children, we do what we have to do in order to carry on, so to speak, without having any type of an active threat in our lives. Price of gold, man, it's really climbed a lot. Silver's climbing as well. I have not been buying anything. I've been diverting funds to purchasing firearms. What are you folks doing? Are you still going all in with gold? Are you going all in with silver? Are you doing a 60-40, 70-30, 90-10 thing? I'm just on hold. In fact, I suspect that if gold gets around to $2,000 an ounce, I'm going to be liquidating some of this. That might surprise some of you, but I just have my own thought process as to where things are going. And, you know, the dollar, despite the Fed printing trillions of additional dollars, it doesn't seem to be affecting our dollar, at least the valuation of the dollar, in an inflationary way as to what some folks have predicted or thought would have taken place by now. Granted, inflation usually follows somewhat behind the printing of money and the devaluation, so to speak, but I'm still confident in the dollar. Many of you will disagree with that, but as long as I have the ability to change these back and forth between dollars and more gold, that's what I'm going to do. I truly believe, in my own opinion, that gold is going to continue to go up for a little while. I'm going to cash out, and then I think it's going to go back down. So if I can make a 25 or 30% profit, I'm going to do that. I don't need to make 100% or 60 or 70%. Sure, I'd like to, but there's a saying that's called, the pig gets fat and the hog gets slaughtered. So I don't want to be the hog. I don't want to get slaughtered. I just want to get fat. And that's not physically fat, but financially fat. So I hope everyone is doing well. This is a little bit different video than what you're used to from me, but this is a bit of an analysis of what I define precious metals to be. Till next time, folks, Vertical Stacker.